I want to tell you something that happened to me. I'm going to tell it the way it unfolded, in my own words, because I think putting it into words is the only way I've been able to make sense of it myself. We were together for 8 years. 8 years. To put that in perspective, we started when we were basically kids, teenagers, who didn't know anything about the world yet, who thought love was simple because we hadn't lived long enough to find out it isn't. We grew up together, in a way. I watched her change from a nervous 19-year-old into a confident woman. She watched me stumble through my 20s, lose jobs, find better ones, lose friends, make new ones. We were each other's witnesses. That's the only way I know how to describe it. She had seen every version of me, and I had seen every version of her. I loved her with everything I had. Not the kind of love you see in movies, where it's all grand gestures and dramatic declarations, the quieter kind. The kind where you just assume someone is going to be there. I introduced her to my parents back when things were still new and fragile, when I was nervous about what they'd think. And I remember how relieved I felt when my mother hugged her, like she already belonged in the family. I introduced her to my friends, and she became part of our group, not just my girlfriend, but someone they invited to things even when I wasn't around. That's how integrated she was into my life. She wasn't a chapter. She felt like the whole book. We had our problems, of course. Every couple does. There were stretches where we barely talked, periods where the spark felt distant, arguments that left us cold to each other for a few days. But underneath all of that, I believed, truly believed, that what we had was solid. I thought we were the couple that makes it. I had pictured the wedding. I had pictured the rest of it. I wasn't naive about relationships, but I was naive about us, if that makes sense. I thought we were the exception. Then, about 3 months ago, that belief cracked for the first time. One of my friends sent me a video. I remember exactly where I was sitting when I opened it, because some moments brand themselves into your memory, whether you want them to or not. The video was dark, the lighting bad, the kind of clip you'd expect from someone's phone at a club. But even through the bad lighting, even through the noise and the bodies moving around her, I could see her. My girlfriend, at a club, kissing another guy. I want to be clear. This wasn't some ambiguous, maybe it's nothing moment. It wasn't a peck on the cheek or something I could explain away if I tried hard enough. It was unmistakable. I asked my friend more than once if he was sure if this was actually her because some small, desperate part of me needed him to say no. He said yes, and then he said it again, because I think he could see that I wasn't really asking him a question. I was asking the universe to undo what I'd just seen. I felt it in my chest first. That's the strange thing about heartbreak like that. It's physical before it's emotional. Like something solid had been driven straight through me. People talk about a broken heart like it's just a phrase, but in that moment I understood it as something almost literal. It felt like someone had hit me, and then, right after, like something sharp had been left behind in the wound. I didn't wait. I confronted her that same day. I didn't scream, I didn't throw anything, I just needed to look at her face when I showed her what I'd seen. I played the video. I watched her watch it. At first, she said it wasn't her. Flat denial. Looked me in the eye and told me I was wrong, that I was seeing things, that it must have been someone who looked like her. I think some part of her hoped I'd just accept that and move on, because it would have been easier for both of us if I had. But I'd watched that video more times than I want to admit, and I knew her face, her clothes, her laugh even through a phone speaker. I wasn't going to be talked out of what was right in front of me. So the story changed. She broke down. She cried real tears, the kind that are hard to fake, or at least the kind I didn't think she could fake. She said she didn't remember any of it. She told me she'd been blackout drunk, that the whole night was a blur, that she didn't even know it happened until I showed her. She swore up and down that it didn't mean anything, that there were no feelings involved, that it was a one-time lapse in judgment fueled by alcohol and nothing more. And here's the truth about love. The part nobody warns you about. When you love someone for 8 years, you don't want to believe the worst about them. You want, more than almost anything, to find a way to keep believing in them. So I did the thing that love makes you do. I chose to trust her. I told myself that people make mistakes, that alcohol clouds judgment, that one kiss after 8 years didn't have to be the end of everything we'd built. I let it go. Not because I was a pushover, but because I genuinely believed in her enough to give her the benefit of the doubt. But here's the other truth about instinct. It doesn't let go that easily. Even when your mind decides to move on. Somewhere underneath the forgiveness, there was a feeling I couldn't shake. A low, persistent unease like a smoke alarm beeping quietly in another room. I told myself it was paranoia. I told myself I was being unfair to her by holding on to suspicion after she'd already apologized and cried and promised. But it stayed there anyway, humming under everything, even on good days. A few days ago, that unease finally found words. I asked her something that had been sitting heavy in my chest for weeks, something I think I already half knew the answer to, but needed to hear out loud. I asked her if there had been more than just those 2 guys in that video. She went quiet. Not a quick no, a pause. A few seconds of silence that, in hindsight, told me more than any answer could have. And then she said no, but that pause stayed with me. If you've ever asked someone a question and felt the answer arrive a beat too late, you know what I mean. Honesty doesn't usually need time to think. Denial does. That same day, not weeks later, not some separate incident, the very same day, I found out exactly what that pause meant. I walked in on her. And this time there was no blurry video, no bad lighting, no room for interpretation. I found her with another guy, and what I saw left absolutely nothing to question. There was no blackout this time. No tears. No scrambling explanation. She didn't even flinch the way you'd expect someone caught completely off guard to flinch. She just looked at me with this strange, stone-cold calm. Like she'd already made peace with being caught. Like some part of her had been waiting for this moment to arrive. When I asked her, really asked her, the way you do when you need an actual answer and not another excuse, she didn't bother lying this time. She just told me the truth, or at least her version of it. I want
She
you
said
to
she
sit
didn't
with
feel
that for a
seen
second
in our
the
relationship.
way I had to
She
sit
said she
with
wasn't
it in real
satisfied.
time. She told
8
me our
years.
sex life didn't
8
fulfill
years
her,
of building a
that
life
she
with
didn't
someone,
feel like she could
of being
come to
there
me
for the
and
good
talk
and the
about
bad,
those things, of imagining a future together. And after all of that, after being caught a second time with someone else, what she handed me wasn't an apology. It was a complaint. It was a list of grievances delivered after, not before, the betrayal. If she felt unseen, if she felt unsatisfied, there had been 8 years of opportunities to say so. Instead, I got the explanation only once I'd caught her with my own eyes. I remember standing there and feeling like the air had been pulled out of the room. I couldn't process it fully. Some part of me was still that teenager who fell for her all those years ago, still in love, still unable to picture life without her. And at the very same time, another part of me was watching this unfold and thinking, this is real. This is happening. This is who she is showing you she is in the days after. I didn't know what to do with everything I was feeling. So I did what a lot of people do when their own mind feels too loud to make sense of alone. I went on Reddit and laid the whole thing out. And I asked people what they thought I should do. The responses were honest in a way that almost hurt to read. A lot of people pointed out something I hadn't let myself fully consider, that this likely wasn't the first time at all. It was simply the first time I had caught her. They called it trickle-truthing, the pattern where someone only confesses to exactly what you already have proof of, nothing more, nothing less. The blackout excuse, the pause before her answer. And now this. Strangers on the internet saw the pattern faster than I did, because I was too close to it, too in love with the idea of her to see it clearly. A day after that, I made my decision. I told her it was over. For good this time. I wasn't going to give her room to make a third betrayal feel like something I had to forgive my way through again. I wasn't going to put myself through that cycle one more time, but I also made a choice about how I wanted to leave. I decided I wasn't going to be cruel about it, wasn't going to make the ending uglier than it already was just because I had the right to be angry. That's not who I am, and I didn't want this experience to turn me into someone I wouldn't recognize. Right now, if I'm being honest with you, I'm still heartbroken. I don't think I've fully accepted that the person I planned a future with could do this. Not once, but twice, in the span of a few months. Some nights I still reach for the version of her I fell in.